those touchscreens doing all those growing little brains?
All she wants for the holidays is, well, not toys, but skincare products.
All I wanted this year was skincare and makeup.
11-year-old Olivia Clyde is obsessed with beauty products.
8th grade kid could not spell a single word correctly on this list. 8th grade.
Generation Alpha, the supposed future leaders and current generation of our society. But with the way they're growing up, will they actually be the future generation to make an impact, or is Gen Alpha as doomed as people say it is? Who are Generation Alpha? Gen Alpha, or people born between 2010 and 2025, is said to become the most populated generation in history, with over 2.8 million kids born every week. They follow Gen Z and are the children of the millennial generation. Although Gen Alpha is populating a large amount of society, why do other generations think there's no hope for this generation? With countless cases of kids acting out in public, lashing out, and behaving erratically, many believe that Gen Alpha is already ruined. You see babies and toddlers often throwing temper tantrums the second their smart devices are taken away, and teachers are begging parents to do something because their kids barely scrape by in school. Time and time again, we hear about just how doomed Gen Alpha is. But where are these horror stories coming from? And what makes Gen Alpha so different from all the generations before them? The short answer, the internet. The rise of iPad kids. When you think of a kid in today's day and age, how do you picture them? Most of you probably had an image of a kid with an iPad in their hands, right? That's because Gen Alpha is not only the youngest generation, but also the most technologically dependent one. Generation Alpha was raised by screens, whether by TV, a computer, or the infamous iPad. With almost 80% of kids owning an iPad or another version of a tablet, you can't deny the nickname that many call this generation, iPad kids.
This is what happens when mom and dad take away an iPad from 2-year-old Ashlyn Brooks.
Since their creation, iPads have been used as a tool for parents who are simply too busy with work. Technology has proven to be a hassle-free way of keeping kids occupied, whether at public places, social events, or just during the day-to-day. With iPads being an evolved version of parenting in the 20th century, screens are simply considered the new nanny. And although parents may benefit from relaxing after work, iPads could be doing more harm than good. It's gotten to a point where Gen Alpha is entirely reliant on their devices, growing a digital addiction that they cannot seem to stop. In 2012, a 3-year-old boy was kicked off an Alaskan Airlines flight from Seattle because of the extreme temper tantrum he threw after getting his iPad taken away. The kid had been playing with a tablet before takeoff, but when planes ascend, all devices were asked to be turned off, and this one iPad was no exception. But when flight attendants tried to get the kid to turn his tablet off, he started to wreak havoc. The child began a raging outburst, hitting his head against the roof of the plane and desperately begging for his tablet back. His family tried to calm him down and buckle him in so that they could take off, but no one was able to control him. Things got so bad that the pilot had to turn the entire plane around on the runway. The boy and his entire family was escorted off the flight, causing them to miss their vacation to St. Martin Island. And this was over 10 years ago, at the start of the iPad kids generation. Since then, Gen Alpha has grown more attached to their devices. Social media has become a part of their day-to-day routines, for better or for worse, and it's caused kids to become addicted to the internet. And the stay-at-home crisis that happened in 2020 only made things worse. Kids were locked indoors and were unable to get any sort of social interaction from other peers or teachers. Gen Alpha was treating technology like a full-time job, devoting 40 hours a week to using it. With social media being accessible to anyone, internet usage was at an all-time high. They couldn't go out to play because of restrictions, so the only way they could get any form of contact with the outside world was through their devices. Gen Alpha was going through critical development phases during the stay-at-home crisis. The online world became their new reality because it was all they knew. And considering the sort of horrible stuff that we have access to online, this is concerning. Technology usage on its own isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's the content that's being consumed that's the real perpetrator. Parents may think that they know what their kids are watching online, but sometimes things aren't what they seem, even in videos supposedly made for kids. Internet brain rot. You might have heard of the term brain rot. Popularized by social media, brain rot is the term that internet users have created to describe those lacking proper socialization and are obsessed with digital content to an unhealthy level.
Oh God, bro, Gen Alpha content's some of the most incoherent brain dead I've ever seen in my life, okay? Like, I can physically feel my brain cells frying every second I spend watching this.
Level 100 Guyat, Ice Spice Riz W Riz Guyat. You've Guyat to be rizzing me in Ohio at 3 a.m.
When you think about brain rot, Gen Alpha tends to be the usual demographic that comes to mind. That's because the internet has been their primary means of interaction with the world since they were born. Brain rot content can also be identified by the constant usage of internet slang, overly bright colors, and attention-grabbing content that switches every few seconds. A key example is popular kids media like Skibbity Toilet that seem to capitalize on Gen Alpha's decreasing attention span by overwhelming them with hyper-stimulating content. Skibbity Toilet is a web series on YouTube that features a variety of models from games like Garry's Mod and Counter-Strike as they battle in a raging war. The two sides are singing human-headed toilets, which are called Skibbity Toilets, and humanoids who have human bodies but items as their heads, like cameras or TVs. The series was created by a man named Alexei Gerasimov. It first premiered on YouTube in February of 2023. Since the first episode was released, the channel had gained over 40.6 million subscribers and has over 15 billion views to date. Each episode features the Skibbity Toilets and other characters engaged in full-on conflicts, animated in the most obscure and dramatic ways. There's never a dull moment in the videos, which to Gen Alpha is the exciting part. On the surface level, this might just seem like out-of-the-box wacky content for kids, but the harsh reality of it is that Skibbity Toilet could be damaging to children. With the constant overstimulating content, kids get used to hyperactivity, making everything else feel mundane. This can cause irritability, a low attention span, and a lack of patience since kids are now so used to hyperstimulation. Parents have long since been concerned with whether or not Skibbity Toilet is appropriate for their kids to watch, and it even got to a point where Russian authorities had to get involved to investigate the show. A Moscow man concerned over Skibbity Toilet's detrimental effects on children asked the police to block the videos from the internet to prevent kids from watching it. This investigation has gotten mixed opinions so far, with some claiming that getting the police involved over a kids series is ridiculous. Other parents also echoed the same concerns, believing that Skibbity Toilet may be doing more harm than good. While there's still no conclusive answer as to whether or not the series is negatively affecting children, this form of hyper-stimulating media has become a growing trend for Gen Alpha. Parents are becoming increasingly worried that their kids are becoming like zombies because of this kind of content. Another popular kids show is CoComelon, which is usually targeted toward babies and younger children. CoComelon has become one of the most famous kids shows and has been a go-to entertainment source for parents to show their kids. But in recent months, the once favorable reputation of CoComelon has completely shifted because now parents are starting to discover a correlation between their kids' behavioral issues and the show. On December 26th, 2021, TikTok user It's Mama Bell posted a video that raised some serious concerns about CoComelon. The text on the video said that she had just switched from showing her kids CoComelon to a YouTuber called Miss Rachel, and that prior to switching, her children would just sit in front of the TV like zombies. In the comments, countless moms agreed with her, saying that Miss Rachel, who is a YouTuber who focuses on educational content, was much more beneficial for their kids. More and more parents realized that their kids were becoming addicted to CoComelon to the point where they wouldn't be able to move away from the screen, and they weren't learning anything from the show either. The show focused solely on keeping the children's attention with bright colors, repetitive songs, and fast jump cuts, all of which are tactics that the show uses to keep kids hooked.
Let's see how many seconds it takes for each one of these scenes to change. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1.
This epidemic of overstimulation can be compared to the feeling that you get from substances, hence why CoComelon is so addictive to children. And it's not just random TikTokers that have said this. Actual childhood experts have chimed in, agreeing that CoComelon is too overstimulating for kids, which can lead to addiction. CoComelon watchers are usually between ages 2 and 5, which are critical years when it comes to early childhood development. This is the time when kids are developing language, creativity, and social skills. And shows like CoComelon Cocomelon have possibly only made these tasks more difficult, and not to mention the disturbing influx of Elsagate content that's taken over all of the kid-friendly platforms. And I have a whole separate video of that you can watch. All of this inappropriate content not only has caused concern for Gen Alpha parents, but also for teachers as well. Because not only are kids becoming more addicted to screens, but they're also doing much worse in school. The dumber generation. It's a common theme in social media for people to say that Gen Alpha is considered one of the dumber generations.